Hello, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Today I want to show you a really cool wooden wall telephone. This is EJ's telephone from Texas, and I want to show you here real quick. EJ has a clock shop in Texas, and if you have any clock issues or you need to talk to him about a clock, I've got a shop number here of 409-385-2111, and he'll be happy to help you with it. So I'll kind of give you a little look at his card there. Basically, I want to show you this final checkout video of this really cool telephone. This is try to give you a look at the tag here. This is a telephone by the Wesco Company. It's the Wesco Supply Company, St. Louis, Missouri, and that's who made the telephone. I'm trying to get the glare off of here so you can see the tag on it. This telephone had some issues when it came in, just like all of them do, and we went ahead and repaired this telephone for EJ. I'll show you here on the receiver. This receiver looked like it might have been in a fire or next to a lot of heat, and the cap needed to be replaced, the screw-on cap. Now we basically rebuilt and cleaned up and everything the inside of this receiver capsule, and this is an original capsule, and we also have a plate in here that had to be replaced, and we replaced the handset cord. Now this is the stab connectors on the outside, and that's how they turned out. That turned out really nice, and basically that's your connections for your handset cord that runs inside. So the receiver capsule is basically original, and the transmitter, now we wanted to go original, and I have the original parts, and I'm going to send them back to EJ, but and I wanted to use it, but with the metal, the way these older style transmitters and receivers are made, that little circle that you see in the side, that's a metal plate. And I'm going to kind of show you something that's really close to that goes in a transmitter. And it causes for a little bit of a tinty sound. So, and what happens is, I'm going to show you here real quick. This is the old transmitter, and I wanted to use it. We cleaned it up and tried to get it to fly in the circuit, but it just wouldn't go. It just was a little too noisy, and I'll show you why. I know you probably can't see it on the video, but on this transmitter, right here what you have is a clear window, and you can see the little graphite or conductive material inside this window. And what happens is, when this material does not settle down, you kind of get these little static sensations, and it was just too noisy. Otherwise we could have used it, and that kind of gives you a look at it. Here's some other, a little bit of the other parts that go to it. This basically slips down on the transmitter, and there's a screw to lock it down, and then this connection goes right to this screw. And I really would have liked to have used this, but the diaphragm here is just a little too noisy, where the graphite crystals or conductive material is set inside, and they bounce around too much and cause too much static, kind of like a static sensation. Now the transmitter that we have in here is of a later model, but if you ever hear any kind of through the receiver capsule, if you ever hear a little bit of a static sensation, all these transmitters that have the graphite, that are manufactured with the graphite or designed with the graphite or conductive material crystals in them, can have a little static sensation, and they all do it. And the problem with the receiver capsules on these older telephones being metal, they pick up any kind of a little bit of a static. But basically what happens is, hopefully, this one's pretty quiet and it should be okay. What you can do is you can pluck, if you hear that, you can simply pluck the transmitter a little bit to calm them down and kind of get them into, in what I call in a line, or an alignment. And so these are very touchy little, these pieces of metal here that they use for the speaker. You can hear kind of how tinny they are, and they will pick up. They'll pick up any kind of static sensation, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. And this one's pretty quiet, and it should be okay. But if you have to align them, just kind of pluck it a little bit, and it should be just fine. And the reason why I'm explaining this is because all those transmitter capsules do have a noise sensation to them. And with the newer networks that were in some of the more modern telephones, I mean in the 60s and the 50s, with the type of network that they had, what they did was they squelched that noise out, basically. There was a resistance, and your speaker, your receiver capsule wouldn't pick it up as well. So anyway, let's do some final checks. I want to show you the inside of this telephone. I want to kind of open it up here for you. And that's why I have all these tape rolls here, is kind of hold up the telephone. Now EJ, he's got the original tag inside here, but basically we went through and I tried to use as much of his original wiring as I could. He's got a couple of connections here. He took his crank out just for shipping reasons. And these wires are still good. They still go to the bell, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute. And then we have his transmitter. We rewired all that, but we used his original wire that goes over to the hinges and then goes into the body of the telephone. So we tried to use as much of the original equipment as we could, wiring. The bell is original. We have our circuit here, and then the wires run from the bell through the hinges like they did originally. So none of that was changed. We tried to keep all that original. And then the rest of his hook switch and his little coil and everything is all inside. So everything's been rewired or set up for a working condition here. And we're going to go ahead and plug the telephone in to the analyzer. And I'm going to go ahead and ring the bell. And we'll go ahead and we'll answer that now. Give you some dial tone. And then what we want to do is, I'm going to have to move this telephone a little bit. And I want to tap on, if you look at the analyzer, when I tap on the transmitter, you'll see this little red light. Now what I'm going to do on the analyzer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Incoming message test. Hello? Now, you're going to sound a lot different on this telephone, because basically what you're talking through is kind of like a funnel, but they call these spit cups, and that's basically, so you're not going to sound exactly like you would if you were talking on a modern day telephone. But of course this telephone's 100 years old or more, and so that's just cool, and I think people can put up with that or live with that. The other thing I want to show you on this telephone is we installed a modular port. back in this area here. And that is to simply be able to, and it's kind of dark in there, so that's just, and I don't have a plug on my line cord, but you simply just plug into the line cord. You can hear you can watch the analyzer seize. Now another thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to take another telephone and I want to plug this telephone into a regular telephone line. So we'll do that real quick. Get you some dial tone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dial with another telephone a time and temp number. And then I'm going to hang this phone up and then go back to this one.
Our body shop can repair almost any make and model for less. Offenburg Belleville, 234-0330. Today is Friday, June 17th. The time is 10:43. Current temperature 91 degrees. Now the weather forecast for the Belleville area. Becoming partly sunny today, 30% chance of a shower and thunderstorm. Highs in the low 90s. Partly cloudy tonight, 20% chance of showers, thunderstorms, lows in the low 70s. Partly cloudy, hot and humid.
So we know this telephone is in working condition, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it out of the line right now because what I want to do is I want to show you that if you were to take and reinstall your crank, I'll show you here real quick. I have a hand crank here, and it's a really small unit, but basically it has enough voltage being pumped out of it when you crank it. Now when you crank these, you want to crank them slow and evenly. Not the faster you crank, the better. But with these cranks, the bells with the frequency they have and the voltage that they have, it is better to crank evenly and slow. And a lot of people's got, a lot of people will get that backwards. They'll go, they'll try to crank it real fast. And basically what that does is overload the circuit with voltage. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and connect up to his line connections for his, and if you heard that, that seized my analyzer. So what I want to do is I want to basically unplug my analyzer, because if you start cranking the crank here to ring the bell, what's going to happen is you're going to pump a back voltage into the telephone line. You really don't want to do that. And I don't have EJ's crank to set up the switch on the crank, because what happens is when you turn the crank handle, the shaft kind of goes in a little bit and then hits some finger contacts, and that's where we install our switch, so that we don't, when we connect these up to have the crank ring the bell but also work off a line voltage in a telephone line, we don't want to cross the two really, and so we set up a switch, but I have to have the crank for that. So anyway, this is what we're going to do. So this little guy right here, you can take this to a party. Remember those old hand buzzers? Well, let me tell you, if you build a little setup to where you can hold that in your hand and you go to shake somebody's hand and crank it at the same time, you're going to liven up the party real quick, because that'll let them know that they touched you or shook your hand. So let's do this again. Let's take this. Let me get this cord arranged the way I want to. Get this inside the door here. pull this little crank up. So that's basically enough to actually ring the bell. But what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and open the telephone up again. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and plug the line cord back in to the analyzer and disconnect my connections to where the crank would go. And I'm going to go ahead and let the analyzer ring the bell. Let it go one more time. And then front view. Give you a little dial tone there. So the telephone is finished up, and it's really a cool telephone, and this is going to be really a cool setup when EJ gets this telephone installed. And I believe he's going to drill a hole on the inside here and bring his line cord through when he connects up to it, and he can simply plug into that modular port that we installed on the inside, and he'll be taken care of. Now I noticed on the spit cup it wasn't, the threads on it were kind of messed up. So basically what you can do is you can take plumber's Teflon tape like I did, and I didn't wrap a lot of it around it. I could have put more on, but I didn't want to crank this real tight. There's no sense in having it like super tight, because when you have Teflon tape in there, that basically is going to keep the spit cup on, and I may have to take this off in shipping, but I wanted to let you know that you can use plumber's Teflon tape and wrap the like they do on pipe, on plumbing. You want to wrap the threads on this spit cup and then screw it in, and that will hold it and be sturdy enough to, you know, at least tighten it up where it stays on. And that Teflon tape works wonders on things like this. So that's basically something that you can do, because I wasn't sure if I was going to take the spit cup off or the transmitter arm, you know, for shipping, but we'll have to figure all that out when we get done. This is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.